Good day, my name is Bodhi and I'm a student at Discipline 5. My statement is the I is a lie. Whatever it touches, it makes a lie out of it. Anything I touch, I make a lie out of it. And my sadhana is to live in a way not everything is made a lie. Not to bring the I in and make everything a lie. And to watch how I am a lie. When this realization first descended, I was stunned. Here I am thinking that I am the paragon of she who bows to truth and who holds truth as the highest virtue one can hold, only to be told that the I is a lie. Of course, initially I heard this as I am a lie, the way my ego wanted me to, and then went sailing down a stream of self-pity and flagellation. I felt paralyzed and not quite sure how to move from there. And so began my quest like that of the Velveteen Rabbits, wanting to be real. I started by taking myself down another trip back in time, looking for insights I had received over the years that pointed towards this. Because as we all know, we are only slammed on the head with a sledgehammer of truth when previous hints fly right over our heads. And I recalled how in the Bali retreat, Master had told me I was a parrot. How there was nothing authentic here as me. At the time, my ego was greatly offended. I was the paragon of creativity and uniqueness. What the hell was that? So over the years, I had held this statement at the back of my mind as I watched myself. And in time, I saw the truth in it. I have always been afraid to see things for how I see things and offer my truth without first looking to see how others are doing it, or what they are saying, or thinking, or even being. Even in silly things like shopping, I do not stop to think if I like something or not. I see something someone else has, and I think it's nice, and I want it, so I get it, only to realize it's not me. Sometimes even when we are given these exercises, I'm almost afraid to listen to what others say before I go, in case that quality is still in me, and I end up crafting my presentation based on others. Another time I was told that I am not here, that there is nothing here, so there is no one to love. That was a thunderbolt up my posterior. It's almost funny how surprised we are at what is blindingly obvious to others around us. I sat with that too for a very long time, although I wasn't quite sure what to do. It's really quite paralyzing. If the I is a lie and must die, then who will undo the lie of the I, if not the I? And if it is the I who must undo the lie, and the I does not want to die, does that mean I will remain the lie and never die? Initially, when I began this work, when these insights first dropped like summer rain, I felt paralyzed. And I went down the road of what is the point of this work? Nothing will happen, nothing can change. Because nothing is in charge and nothing can't make something. But as time went by and life hadn't kicked me out from doing the work yet, I began trying a different approach, one that was not steeped in self-pity and flagellation. I had picked up the wisdom of being a witness to oneself, so I began to learn to witness myself. I had tried this before, but I realized I was not doing it properly. This was before we had learned the ABC, which is the most brilliant meditation to me by far, and which I have shared with so very many because of the beauty of its simplicity, and which really does, in my view, turn the Titanic. So I began attempting to witness myself in the context of the ABC. The A was the true I, who is not yet. The B was the I as I know myself, and the C, the space between. And it was fascinating. And because my eye is so cunning, I literally had to put myself in the kind of space Diane Fossey was when she observed the potentially ferocious gorillas, as I observed the raging beast I called myself, which also had the potential to be as ferocious and damaging as a drunken bull high on coke with bleeding balls navigating a tea shop made of exquisite bone china. And I found that when I brought myself in and I tried to interject anything, stop a reaction or a response, I lost the opportunity to observe. So I just had to learn to remain quiet and watch myself, which is quite surreal when I was able to grasp it. And it was quite exciting. I began putting myself in situations simply to have the opportunity to observe myself, not knowing how I would react. Or when I was being put in a situation, I found I was more excited to observe my response and reaction instead of the other's response towards me, which is quite revolutionary for me, as I had always molded myself based on another's view of me. And it's a little scary because in that state, I have no control over what happens in a way. But because I had learned not to bring myself in until the situation was over, I was able to collect valuable data on myself. I could collate my observations for contemplation. So I have observed myself more generous than I thought I was. I noticed with surprise those whom I must have a real affinity towards based on the lens I went for them. And at the same time, I also noticed how cold, detached, and unbothered I could be in situations where compassion or empathy would have been expected. I could also see when I was about to move on from how others flatter me to meet that view, and detach and also see how their sorrow was trying to solicit a compassionate response, which I didn't feel. I had better navigation over how I conducted myself independent of others. Not always, of course, but more often than not. So all I did was watch and then contemplate and make a resolution of the person whom I wanted to be and attempt to hold myself to that. I could resolve to remove myself from situations where I saw myself being ugly and move towards situations where I saw myself able to be beautiful. And when I looked back at where the faith came from that put me in a position that I could evolve, I realized it came from the learnings I obtained in doing the course on the biological evolution offered by the Institute. If they still offer it, I strongly recommend it because I think it is sheer enlightening itself as to how we were given the opportunity to examine this work from the context of science. Firstly, it's absolutely mind-blowing to realize how a substantial premise of all science and evolution is based on the reptilian and limbic brain, and how little exploration has been done on the neocortex brain. And then the magnitude of this work, which sits in the realm of higher consciousness, when examined in the dimensions of what is currently out there, which is incredibly little by the way, is truly revolutionary and surpasses brilliance on any level as far as I'm concerned. And unless examined with the sheer intelligence of the biology from the context of science, the work we are doing cannot be appreciated enough. And I recall the mere study of the impact of epigenetics, as I understand it, which is the study of our biology, of how genes affect our cells based on the impact of signals from the outside world. There are several studies on rats from scientists like Yehuda and Moore who explored how external stimulations such as licking and caring for pup rats impact how they are raised and how they respond. And this is the study of behavioral epigenetics. And these lessons made me realize how science plays a role in cultivating our fears, inhibitions, and beliefs. I saw how conditioned the biology is, as it is with the drive to mate as the predominant factor on how we unconsciously conduct ourselves. And as D.N. Vimal pointed out in his lecture Safety in 2016, the need to imitate is an unconscious behavior picked up as the biology has an inherent intelligence to absorb behavior in order to sustain the primal instinct of survival. That study in a way alleviated the burden I had placed on myself, that me being me and being wrong was all my doing. Without embarking on that scientific study, this was not apparent to me at all. The culmination of these realizations was the understanding of neuroplasticity and how we can teach our brain to evolve and form new pathways was simply an explosion of possibilities for me. I was no longer cemented in who I was. As Dian Vimal in his lecture, Biology versus the Social in 2016 states, by living the organism, the whole biology wakes up. Enlightenment is, if there is anything as such, when the biology is transforming itself. So when the understanding of that transformation was possible dawned, not from a space that I can do it, but from a space as this is how our biology is inherently designed to evolve, suddenly there was light at the end of the tunnel. Bob had a way out. Anyway, my paper is written by someone with no scientific background, so for those of you who have one, maybe it could be a springboard to give you insights to build on and explore more groundbreaking possibilities to share with the world. So I'm sharing that here too as a platform for much deeper explorations by those with the proper background, if you may. Coming back to my journey, I do not have the words for how lost and paralyzed I felt in this expedition. It's almost like I could not stand to be in my own skin. It felt so dirty and revolting being me. It's like I wanted to die. If I didn't know by doing so, I would only come back again with the same shit and probably without the blessing of a guru. Even breathing was hard. Being me felt so vile. And each time I felt like I was wasting my time, that nothing could ever come from nothing good. I was reminded of Master's tale of how the Japanese sword is made, how it needs to be shoved in searing hot fires, have the shit pounded out from it, and then dipped in water. And also the story of how compressed carbon makes a diamond. And in order to hold that reminder, since I didn't want a sword, I had to buy myself a diamond ring. We then began our group work, and my group studied human qualities. We were exposed to the understanding that qualities like lying, cheating, laziness, fear of being rejected, the need to feel better than the other, a reluctance to transform, and superiority over another were all simply ingredients forming part of the recipe for being special. We then went on to the journey of how we personalized that, the price we paid for remaining that way, and the sangalpam we had to hold to move out of it. And this study was just another step in the direction of liberation, as to me, what jumped out the most was the price I was paying for trying to be special. And when I reverse engineered that, clarity began to descend. I mean, it's so easy to jump to the end and say the I who is a lie must die. But to me, I need to understand why and to start from the very beginning. Why am I a lie? What was I trying to achieve? And when examined in the context of being special, it made sense. This was how I held my I to be a lie. I had somehow held the belief that I was not worthy of love, that as I am, I cannot be loved, and that I would be rejected. And I saw I had a predisposition on chasing after those who didn't want me, so that I could be rejected, so I could validate that belief in a messed up way, and so the cycle perpetuated. And to cover up their insecurity, I made myself special, because I thought it was the key to being loved. And in doing that, I became a lie. And it was so magical that when the thread that held all these lies together, that I called me, was identified, only then could I begin to unravel and commence the movement to dissolve. And it feels as delightful as the sound of softly sizzling bubbles effervescent tablets make in water. But the most liberating realization for me was the price I was paying for remaining that way. The first fall of the sword was when I saw that by being a lie, I was holding myself in a way that I did not have faith in me. And by doing that, in turn, I had no faith in the more. And the outcome was that I would never be whom I'm supposed to be. And the second fall of the sword, which cut deeper, was recently when we were studying the PAT scores. And I realized by holding myself in a way that I was modest, for instance, I was actually limiting the expansion of those around me. To put it in better context, I realized I had been totally blind towards how me being me was impacting others. I mean, I'd heard the words many times before, but I was always so wrapped up in the notion that me being me was only my business. I was completely myopic towards the effect that was having on the others around me. I had only been focusing on one part of the equation, completely oblivious as to how this affected others. The full dynamics was lost on me, and I'm working on that. In conclusion, there was very little I could do other than watch and not quit, and hold on to these three words that steer me: Satyam, Shivam, Sundram. And because the I, who is a lie, needs to die by a hand that is not the I, the only hand that could help to do that is the hand of a guru. So I also hold on to a poem by my guru. When I saw the face of me, I saw the face of thee. And when I saw the face of thee, I saw the face of he. And this is my daily sadhana. I see my guru's face constantly throughout the day, holding the prayer that one day I will see the real me too. This is my offering. Thank you for listening.